Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing well. So today we are going to start up our course in physics with basics in mathematics. So the first thing that we are going to take up today is calculus, and in calculus we'll try to learn differentiation. But before we go into the details of differentiation, the techniques of differentiation, the formulas which are involved in differentiation, we must first try to understand what is the history of calculus, how calculus became a part of mathematics, why it was invented, and who all contributed to the development of calculus. So just a brief background will help us to make the study of calculus more interesting. So you can see calculus was developed independently by Newton and Leibniz. The concept which you will find in calculus, it's like they have taken some divergent approach and finally it converges at a common place or at a common point. So Newton was more concerned about the geometrical definition, or you can say the geometrical interpretation of the terms of differentiation. For Leibniz, it meant a small change, or which you can call it as infinitesimal change. Infinitesimal means very small change which you cannot actually specify in terms of numbers. Finite change we can specify. Let us say if you say that the temperature of the room has increased from 10 degrees Celsius to 20 degrees Celsius, and I ask you what is the change, so you will say that the change is 20 minus 10, which is 10. So here you are able to specify the change in terms of numbers. That means you can actually measure it and tell me how much exactly is the change. Such type of change is called as finite change, and we represent finite change by symbol delta. Whereas if you cannot measure the change exactly, but you know that it is a very small change, then such type of change is called as infinitesimal change, and we represent it by the term which you would have probably seen, like dx, dy. So such dx, dy, all these terms mean a small change in the value of x, small change in the value of y. So the concept which Newton used and the concept which Leibniz used was different, but finally both of them converged at the same point. And obviously there was later on there was some modification into that by some other mathematician. So the first thing that we are going to learn, and the topic is basics of mathematics. And you know that Newton developed calculus, or tried to develop the concept of calculus, because he wanted to have some mathematical approach which will make him to do probably calculation in case of variables which are changing. Now let us say if apple was falling from the tree, at every instant of time the velocity of apple, he observed that it is different, and it is very difficult for him to calculate it. So in that case the use of calculus was required. Similarly, there are a lot of other incidences which Newton observed, and where the variable something was varying, and the only option in order to deal with that variable was to make use of the concept of calculus. So let us try to understand this. The first part, calculus, and in calculus we'll talk about differentiation. We'll talk about integration later on. Differentiation literally means breakdown. Differentiation literally means breakdown. Breakdown, or you can say that you are trying to make something very small. You are differentiating it. So whatever we are going to learn in calculus is actually contributed by Leibniz. Whatever you are seeing, because whatever calculation Newton did, he did it for himself. He did not do it for others. Whereas Leibniz tried to develop calculus as a separate branch of mathematics which can be very helpful in physics. So that was the difference in the approach taken by Newton and Leibniz. Whatever Leibniz contributed, most of that part we study, like symbol of integration, it was given by Leibniz. So he tried to codify everything and he tried to use the different notations which are in practice even today. So now the question which arises is, why should we use calculus in physics? What is the use? Why should we learn this? If we don't know calculus, what is going to happen? So in order to understand this, let us take one example. The example which we can take is, let us say there is a car, and this car starts moving at some time, let us say 10 a.m. After certain instant of time, let us say it has reached its destination at 11 a.m. Correct? Now, I want to find out how much total distance has been travelled by the car. And I have told you that it has walked on a, let us say, some straight road. I am just simplifying the problem. It has walked on the straight road which may be full of traffic. You can imagine the way you are walking on some straight road and in between you find a lot of traffic, you find traffic signals, and then you may find some people have blocked the road, or somewhere some construction work is going on. So let us consider all those things in this example. So now let us say this car is having the ability to move with some velocity v, and this velocity is changing. Let us say approximately we can say that this velocity is approximately changing with t square. So at different instant of time its velocity is different. So you can say that this is our t is equal to 0 moment and this is t is equal to some 1 hour. This is that time interval is 1 hour, and velocity at each and every instant is not same, it is changing. Now if I ask you to find out the distance, one way is that you can just tell that distance travelled s is equal to v into t, so you can do t square into t. So according to you it will become 1 square into 1, which is equal to 1. So you will tell that, sir, the distance covered is 1 kilometer. But that is not the case here. By normal thing, if I ask you, tell me what is the distance travelled by this car, what you will do? You will put t value as 1 here, you will tell v is equal to 1, and you will multiply that with time again. So 1 into 1, 1 kilometer, because distance is equal to velocity into time or speed into time. And when you actually measure the distance, you find that that distance is not equal to 1 kilometer, it is something different. Now why is that happening? That is happening because at each and every instant of time, the velocity is changing with the value of t. The velocity is not constant. The velocity is not constant. So that means at 10 o'clock, it would have, let us say, started with some velocity. So velocity was 0 at t is equal to 0. Now at t is equal to, at let us say 10:30 or 10:25 or 10:25.2. So at these instant of time, as soon as you change the value of t, velocity is changing. Then how to find out the distance travelled by this car? Now you see, we are having a practical difficulty here to calculate the distance travelled by this car. So this problem can be solved by making use of calculus. Now let us see how do we do that. So in calculus we actually rely on the original formulas only, but the thing is that we try to break down any quantity into very small part. So let us see, and that is Leibniz approach. I'll tell you what is the benefit of doing that. So let us say you divide this entire stretch, and let us say the total distance travelled is some x. Now this total distance can be divided into different parts. We can divide it into very, very small intervals like this. You can divide it into very, very small intervals, and each interval is, let us say, dx. And there is no specific number which can tell you how much is dx. Dx is very small change. Dx is very small change from its previous quantity. So now, and let us say this distance is being traveled in some time dt. All these time interval are dt. So dx and dt. Now I will talk about the notation. Delta, if you are writing something like delta x, so this is finite change in x, as I was telling you earlier. If you are writing something like dx, it is infinitesimal change in x. So it is very, very small change. Correct. Now let us say if someone asks you what is the number which is next to 1. So you can say 1.01. Your friend may tell 1.001. Another friend may tell the very next number of 1 is this number. And if someone is there, he can continue adding on zeros here till his lifetime, and he can say that that number is next to 1. So now you can imagine, if I ask you what is the very next, if this is x and the next number is x plus dx, then you can imagine what can be the value of dx and how much small can dx be. So it is very next to 1. It is very next to 1. So that small change is called as dx. So you can imagine that dx is very, very, very small change. So correspondingly dt here also is very, very small change. And dx, you can call it as differentiated x. Differentiated x, differentiated time. Now for this small interval, let us say we consider any arbitrary instant. So if this is representing your x and this is representing the distance or the coordinate x plus dx. So what is the time interval? It is dt. Let us say it is dt. So now I can assume, since that this distance is very, 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 very small, I can assume that at this instant of time the velocity would have been practically same. That is, here also velocity is v, at this point also velocity is v. The velocity has not changed. Why it has not changed? It would have changed. But since this distance is very, very small, or this time interval is very, very small, over this very small distance or over this very small time interval, we can assume that these two the velocity of the body at these 2 points is practically same. It has not changed. So if velocity has remained same, now for body moving with constant velocity, we know the formula. What can we write? We can write dx is equal to v into dt, time into speed, that is distance. So we can write v into v is t square. So now you can write it as t square dt. Correct? So now you have determined dx value. It is t square into dt. Now if I ask you to find out the value of x, what should you do? What is x? X is the sum of all these dx. dx plus dx plus dx plus dx from initial to final limit. So that sum we represent it by putting one integration symbol. And what are we trying to integrate? Dx. What are we trying to add up? Dx. And this symbol was of integration. This is the symbol of integration, and it was given by Leibniz. And it is extended form of S, sum. So sum you represent it by symbol S. So it is extended form of S. That is the scientific reason behind giving this symbol to integration. So x is equal to integration of dx, because x is nothing but you are obtaining x when you are adding all these small distances. Now this can be written as integration of d square dt, and now you need to know from where to where you are adding it up. I can add it from here to here. I can add it from initial moment to final moment. Correct? So if I am adding it from initial moment, so what is my limit? This is called as limit. T is equal to 0 to t is equal to 1. Now if you will learn the calculus, in integration you will learn that integration of this is given as t cube by 3, and if you substitute these limits then it will be 1 by 3, and initially what we had got 1. So now you see there is a difference in the value of the total distance travelled by this car, and you see that if you are doing it by integration you get the exact value of the distance travelled by this car. So I hope that from this example it is very much clear when you have to use or make use of calculus, and why it is necessary for us to understand calculus so that we can solve practical life problems in physics. Okay, so let's try to learn now differentiation in little detail. How do you define differentiation? What is this process? You have to understand that differentiation is a process. So this is a process where you are trying to measure the rate of change of one variable with respect to another variable. So let us say if you are writing dy by dx, so what are you trying to do? You are trying to measure change in the value of y with respect to change in the value of x. If you are writing dx by dt, what are you doing? You are trying to find out change in the value of x with respect to change in the value of t. If you are writing, let us say dv by dt, what are you trying to do? You are trying to find out or measure change of v with respect to change in the value of t. So that is what differentiation does. Now the two ways in which you can talk about differentiation is first case dy by dx, you can take it as a rate measurer, and in the another case you can consider in dy by dx this d by dx of y, that is this d by dx you can consider it as an operator. So what does this operator do? It acts as a machine. So let us say if you are giving some input to this machine, what is the input? The input is y is equal to fx. I am taking a very simple case. The input to this machine is y is equal to fx. That is, you are giving some mathematical function as input to this machine. And what is this machine? This machine is d by dx. This is the machine. So obviously any machine will give you some output. And what is the output that you get? You get the output as dy by dx. Or you can also write it as f prime x. Both mean the same thing. Another way to write this differentiated form is f prime x. So this is your input, this was your machine, and this is your output. So this is one way in which you can understand what does this operator do. So when you are considering d by dx as one operator, this operator is acting on y and y as the input, and it is producing some output. Another way is you can consider dy by dx as rate measurer. Rate measurer means change in the value of y with respect to change in the value of x. Next, let's see what is geometrical meaning of dy by dx. So we'll see geometrical interpretation of dy by dx. So what is geometrical interpretation of dy by dx? So let's take a function y is equal to fx. It can be any function where y is varying with x. So let us draw that. This is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, and the curve is somewhere here like this. Let us say this is your curve, y is equal to fx. Correct. Now let us say there are 2 points. One point is here P, another point is somewhere here Q. This point is, let us say, x, so correspondingly you can get here this point will be your y, correct? Or you can say y is equal to fx. This point is, let us say, displaced from the initial one by amount delta x, so x plus delta x. This distance is delta x. So corresponding to this you are having another value of y, and that is f of x plus delta x. This y we can write it as f of x, and here you are having f of x plus delta x. So now if you want to draw a secant, where is the secant here? This is your secant, correct? This is your secant. What is the slope of this secant? So slope is this angle tan theta. How much is this distance? This is your del y, and this we have already seen it, it is del x. So what is tan theta for this triangle? Tan theta, you can write it as del y by del x. Del y by del x. And tan theta is nothing but slope of this secant. Now imagine that you are shifting this point Q closer to P. So let us say at some instant of time this point Q has come here. So your secant will become like this. Similarly, after certain time this Q has come here. So your secant will become like this. So just imagine that Q has come almost here. Then this secant will almost become a tangent. This secant will almost become a tangent here. Tangent at this point P. Tangent at the point P. Are you able to understand this? So when this Q is very next to P, but it is not exactly lying on P, can we say that this del x has come very close, x plus del x has come very close to x, and this del x is almost tending to 0. Tending to 0 means it is not exactly 0, but you can imagine that point Q is very close now to point P. So the secant has become the tangent. So now what you can write? You can write tan theta, which is the slope of tangent Now secant has become tangent. Therefore, we have written slope of tangent. And when this is happening with limit, when you are applying some limit on this, and limit is del x tending to 0, del y by del x. Del y by del x. Now what is del y? We can also write this as limit delta x tending to 0. Del y, you can see it is f of x plus delta x minus f of x. And what is delta x? It is x plus delta x minus of x. So this is the function, and this function mathematically we can write it as dy by dx. So geometrically, what is dy by dx giving me? It is giving me the slope of tangent to y is equal to fx at a given point. So what does dy by dx give me? It gives me the slope of the tangent to the curve y is equal to fx at a given point. So this is the geometrical interpretation of dy by dx. Now let's see what will be the differentiation of some common type of functions. That is very important for you to learn. So these are the basic formulas and you should learn it. How these formulas we obtain, you will learn it when you are studying calculus thoroughly in your 12th standard and 11th standard in mathematics. Right now, let us talk about the formulas. So we write basic formulas of differentiation. The first one and the most important that we are going to use in physics is d by dx of, this is, you know what is this? This is the operator. This operator you are using on one input, x to the power of n. So you get some output. What is the output? Nx n minus 1. So for example, if you are doing d by dx of, let us say, x to the power of q. So what is n here? 3. So we can write 3x 3 minus 1. So how much it will become? 3x squared. So this is the differentiation of x to the power of 3. Similarly, if you are having d by dx of, let us say, x to the power of half, then what is n here? Half. So half x half minus 1, just substituting it in the formula. So 1 by 2 x to the power of minus half. So it will be 1 by 2 root x. Now if there is some constant which is added here. So let us say if you are having d by dx of some constant ax to the power of n. So that constant can be taken outside. And then you can go for d by dx of x to the power of n. So now we can use the normal formula which we have learned. So we can write it as a n x n minus 1. Example, you can see we can do, let us say, if we had d by dx of 5x to the power of 3. How will we differentiate it? 5 is a constant. So take it outside. So 5 d by dx of x to the power of 3. So you can write it as 5 n is 3 x 3 minus 1. So it is 15x squared. So is it clear to everyone? So this is the first formula for any function of the form x to the power of n. When you are differentiating with respect to x, what do you get is d by dx of x to the power of n is nx n minus 1. And the second one is d by dx of ax to the power of n is a d by dx of x to the power of n. Next function that we need to learn is, let us say, how to find out d by dx of sine of x. So this is given as cos x. So extended form will be d by dx of, you can either have something like a sin x, so this will be given as a d by dx of sine of x, and what is d by dx of sine of x? It is cos x, so we can write it as a cos x. Similarly, you can have d by dx of cos x, and this can be written as minus of sin x. So the extended form will be d by dx of a cos x, and that is equal to minus a sin x in the similar way. Then you can have d by dx of tan of x, and this is equal to secant square x. You can have d by dx of secant x, and this will be equal to secant x tan x. You can have d by dx of cot x, and this is equal to minus cosecant square x. The next function, 10th one, d by dx of cosecant x, and this is equal to minus of cosec x cot x. Then d by dx of log to the base ex, that is also called as natural log of x, and this is equal to 1 by x. d by dx of next is e to the power of x, and this is same. This function, exponential function, does not change. It is equal to e to the power of x. So I think if you are aware of these basic functions differentiation, it should be sufficient for you to start solving the questions in physics wherever your use of calculus is required. And these formulas of differentiation, you must learn it. You must memorize it. It will be very helpful. Let's see rules of differentiation. So when, let us say, the first form can be when you are having two function which is in addition or subtraction with each other. So y is equal to fx plus minus gx, and you have to find the value of dy by dx. So what you are doing? You are doing d by dx of f of x plus minus g of x. So you can write it independently, d by dx of fx plus minus d by dx of gx. Let us take an example. If I am having y is equal to x square plus sin x, and they have asked us to differentiate it with respect to x, then what we can do? d by dx of y, we can write it as d by dx of x square plus sin x. So this can be written as d by dx of x square plus d by dx of sin x. What is d by dx of x square? We can write it as 2x plus d by dx of sin x is cos x. So this is something which you follow when two functions are in addition or subtraction with each other. Next, if a function is given as something like fx into gx, dot gx means into gx, correct? So how do we solve such kind of question? So what we do is we assume one of the function as u and another function as v. So dy by dx, in such cases you define it as, you take any one function as the first function. So let us say we take u as the first function, then differentiate the second one, dv by dx, plus multiplication plus. So now take the second function which is v and differentiate the first function, du by dx. Very important formula. when two functions are in multiplication with each other, then this is what we follow. This is for addition and subtraction. Now let us see. Let us take some example. Let's say if we are having y is equal to x into sin x, and they have asked us to differentiate it. How do we do this? So any one function you can assume it to be u, the other function will become v. So let us say I take this as u, so this function will become v. What is the formula? The formula to differentiate two functions in multiplication with each other is dy by dx is equal to u dv by dx plus v du by dx. You can see it here. So now we can write this as u is x, d by dx of sin x plus v. V is sin x, and then you are having du by dx. So d by dx of x. So what is d by dx of sin x? Just some time back we learned it is cos x. So we can write this as x into cos x plus, here you are having sin x, d by dx of x. What is d by dx of x? It is 1. So it will be plus sin x. So that is how you deal with differentiation when two functions are given in multiplication with each other. Let's see what to do when two functions are in division with each other. So if y is given as some fx by gx, and we have been asked to differentiate y with respect to x. So again the same thing, the upper function we generally name it as u, the lower function or denominator we take it as v. The differentiation of y with respect to x will be v du by dx minus u dv by dx divided by v square. So it might be little difficult for you to memorize this, but the way is just remember that first you have to differentiate the numerator. So obviously v will come in the product. Since it is division, so minus u dv by dx. Now differentiate the second function, that is denominator divided by square of the denominator. So let us say example, we are having y is equal to something like sin x by x, and we have been asked to differentiate it. How will we differentiate? So in that case we will, this numerator take it as u, the denominator take it as v. So now you can write dy by dx as equal to v. What is v here? X. Du by dx. So it will be d by dx of sin x. Then minus sign is there. Now what is u? U is sin x. So write here sin x. dv by dx. So it is d by dx of x. And everything is getting divided by the square of the denominator. What is denominator here? X. So square of the denominator is x square. So now we can write it as x into d by dx of sin x is cos x minus d by dx of x is 1. So 1 into sin x is sin x by x square. So that is how you try to differentiate a function which is actually a function of two different functions which are in division with each other. So the simple rule, dy by dx, first you write it in the form of u by v, then dy by dx is equal to v du by dx minus u dv by dx by v square. Next, let's talk about chain rule. It will be very helpful in doing the differentiation, and most of the time you will get functions where you need to make use of chain rule to solve or differentiate the function. So it's not very difficult to understand. Let us say if I write y is equal to, let us say, sine of x square. I am just explaining you the difficulty. Now if I have asked you to find out the value of dy by dx, so what you have learned? You have learned that d by dx of sine of x is equal to cos x. This is a standard formula. But in this question, the problem is, and the standard formula is, if you are having x here, then here also you should have x, and finally you get your answer in terms of x. But here what is happening? You are having x square, and they are asking us to differentiate in terms of x. That is, they are asking us to do this d by dx of sine of x square. So here we are having x square, and here we are having x. So here actually you can write this function as a composite function, right? You can write this function as a composite function. So what we do is, I am explaining you the basic thing. What we do is, we have to make sure that whatever is here, same thing should come here, so that you can carry out the differentiation. So what you do is, you put here d of x square, because x square is here. So now this has become your one term, into, now what you have put it in the denominator, d of x square, correct? So same thing, if you multiply it in the numerator, d of x square, nothing is going to change, and then in the denominator you had dx, so put it here dx. Now this is in the standard form. d by dx of sine x is cos x. So what will be d by dx square of sine x square? It will simply become cos of x square. Now this has also come into the form which is standard form of differentiation, d by dx of x to the power of n. So we can write it as nx n minus 1. So into 2x 2 minus 1. So it is 2x. So what is the differentiation? It will be 2x cos of x square. 2x cos of x square. This will be the differentiation of this, right? So what we have done is, if we are having a function of the form y is equal to f of some gx, and we want to find out dy by dx. So first thing we do is, we differentiate d with respect to gx. Which function? We differentiate f of g of x, and then in the numerator we put the same thing, and then again we differentiate it with respect to x. So what is this term? This will come as f prime g of x into g prime x. So if you talk in terms of mathematics, this is what we are trying to do. But in order to solve the question, no need to make it so much complicated and think in that way. Just simple thing, you have to bring the form in a standard form for which you know the formula. And we'll take another example and I'll explain what you can do. Let us take another function. So I'll erase it now. So let us say if I am having y is equal to root of x square plus 1. Simple function we have taken. Now you don't know any standard formula in differentiation which can directly differentiate this. Then what should we do? Now this is in the algebraic form. This is a formula in differentiation which closely resembles this. It is d by dx of x to the power of n, and that is nx n minus 1. So now what you observe here is x here, x here, x here. So now same thing if we try to do with that function, we can write dy by dx as equal to d by dx of x square plus 1 to the power of half. Now the problem here is we are having x, but here we are having x square plus 1 to the power of half. So what should we do? We cannot change the function which has to be differentiated, but definitely we can change the denominator. So what do I bring here? I bring the same thing, x square plus 1. And here you are having x square plus 1 to the power of half. What have I brought in the denominator? D of x square plus 1. So write here d of x square plus 1 by dx. Correct? So nothing has changed. Now you see this is in the standard form. What will be the differentiation of this? Use the formula. So half x square plus 1 to the power of half minus 1 into d by dx of x square plus d by dx of 1. Correct? So what is differentiation of this? You can see it. It will be, I will write it here, 1 by twice root of x square plus 1. D by dx of x square is 2x and d by dx of constant, differentiation of constant is 0. Differentiation of constant is 0. Now why differentiation of constant is 0? It is because d by dx of any constant. So constant can be written as some c into x to the power of 0. X to the power of 0 is 1. So if you will differentiate it, what will you get? C into d by dx of x to the power of 0. So put the formulas, 0 into x, 0 minus 1. So this whole thing becomes 0. Therefore the differentiation of constant is 0. Now you see what do you get in the numerator? 2x. So this 2 and 2 gets cancelled and finally you get it as x by root of x square plus 1. Let us take another example where we can make use of chain rule. So I will just erase it. Let us say a function has been given y is equal to sine square x and we need to differentiate it. So again the same problem is there. If you are finding dy by dx, this is d by dx of sine square x. Correct? So you know the standard form is with respect to sine x, not with respect to sine square x. So what do? We try to bring here one sine x. And then you are having here sine square x into what have I brought in the denominator? Sine x. So d of sine x dx. And we'll keep on breaking it down till we finally land up with the standard form. So now if sine x is equal, why I have done it like this? Because if sine x I represent it by z, then this whole thing, whatever you can see it here, this can be written as d by dz of z square. And what will be the differentiation of this? This will be 2z. So it will be twice of sine of x. So that means this we can write it as 2 sine x into what is d by dx of sine x? It is cos x. So the whole differentiation will be 2 sine x into cos of x. If suppose you are having a function which is given in this form, fx to the power of gx, and you have been asked to find out dy by dx. So a very common example of this is y is equal to x to the power of x, and you don't know how to find out dy by dx. Then how to proceed with such kind of problems? So whenever one function is given as power of another function, then in that case you should always take, the first step should always be to take natural log on both the sides. So what do we do? Take natural log on both the sides. So what will you get on left hand side? Ln y, and here ln x to the power of x. So by properties of logarithm, this power will become the coefficient, and you can write it as x ln x, and on left hand side is ln y. So the first step is, step 1 is take ln on both sides. Ln means natural log. Natural log means log to the base of e. Second step, do the differentiation on both the sides. So differentiation means d by dx of, I have to do ln y on both the sides. So d by dx of x of ln x. So second thing is differentiate both the sides. So now if you are differentiating both the sides, what will you get? Now again the problem here, we get y x. So we will make use of chain rule. D by d of y, we are putting it here, ln y dy. So here in the numerator dy will come dx. Here now you see this is of the form u into v. Two functions are in multiplication with each other, u, and this ln x is v. So what is the standard formula? U dv by dx plus v du by dx. So we can write it as x into d by dx of ln x plus ln x d by dx of x. So what is differentiation of ln x? It is 1 by x. You can write it as, I will write it here, x into 1 by x plus d by dx of x is 1. So 1 into ln x is ln x itself. So what do you get? You get it as 1 plus ln x. On the left hand side, you are having d by dy of ln y. How much is this? 1 by y. So we can write 1 by y into dy by dx as equal to 1 plus ln x. So what is dy by dx? It is y into 1 plus ln x. And what is the value of y? It is x to the power of x. So we can write it as x to the power of x into 1 plus ln x. So that is the differentiation of x to the power of x. So whenever you find one function which has been raised to the power of another function, always the first step should be to take log on both the sides, and then you go for differentiation. Now let's see parametric form. So in parametric form, let us say x varies with theta. X is a function of theta, y is also a function of theta, and we want to find out what is dy by dx. So let us say, I am just taking an example. Let us say x is equal to some a into theta plus cos theta, and y is equal to, let us say, a sin theta, where a is constant, and we want to find out dy by dx. So how can you find dy by dx? Dy by dx can be written as dy by d theta by dx by d theta. Correct? So now first thing we will do is we will determine what is dy by d theta. So what will be dy by d theta? It will be d by d theta of a sin theta. A is constant. So a d by d theta of sin theta. Sin theta, d by d theta of sin theta is cos theta. So we can write it as a into cos theta. What about dx by d theta? So dx by d theta, we can write it as d by d theta of a into theta plus cos theta. So a can be taken outside, d by d theta of theta plus d by d theta of cos theta. Write it like a d by d theta of theta is 1 plus d by d theta of cos theta is minus of sin theta. Correct? So it will be a into 1 minus sin theta. So now what is the value of dy by dx? We can write dy by dx, we have got it as dy by d theta by dx by d theta. So what is dy by d theta? A cos theta. Put it here, a cos theta by a into 1 minus sin theta. So now this a and a will get cancelled and we have got the value of dy by dx. Now let's talk about double differentiation. Sometimes we need to differentiate a given function two times. So in case of double differentiation, you are actually trying to find out d by dx of dy by dx if you are having y is equal to fx. So you can also write it as d square y by dx square. This is the notation in which we represent double differentiation or second order derivative. So this can also be written as f double prime x, f double prime x. So let us say if we are having some function y is equal to x cube and we want to find out d square y by dx square. So how much this will be? So in order to find out d square y by dx square, first we should find the first order derivative. So that is dy by dx. So it will be d by dx of x to the power of cube. How much it will be? 3x square. Then you have to find out second d square y by dx square. So this will be d by dx of dy by dx. Correct? So what is d by dx of dy by dx here? It is, I will write here, it is d by dx of dy by dx, we have calculated it as 3x square. 3x square. So it will be 3 d by dx of x square. So it is 3 into 2x and that is equal to 6x. Similarly, third order derivative, it will be d cube y by dx cube. Means you have to differentiate it one more time. So that's how you perform double differentiation. Let's talk about application of derivatives now. So the most important thing which we need is how to determine maximum and minimum value of a function. So now we are going to learn about maxima and minima. So by your normal observation, if you will see any curve, let us say I am having a curve like this, and this curve is y is equal to fx. It can be any curve. So you can see there are points where this curve is having maximum value or y is having maximum value, and there are points when it is having minimum value. So you can see at this point it is having maximum value, at this point it is having minimum value. Correct? What is your observation? At this point, what is the slope of this curve? It is 0. So can I say at this point dy by dx is 0? What about this point? Again at this point also dy by dx is equal to 0 because theta is 0, the slope is 0. So what it means is that whenever a curve will attain maxima or minima, or whenever a function will attain its maximum or minimum value, the slope of the curve at that instant will be 0. Now another observation which we are having here is, mark it carefully. Now see this point here. Here slope is, theta is acute, and slope of this line is positive, then it becomes 0, and finally it becomes negative because for this angle will become obtuse, right? So what we are seeing here is when the function is attaining its maximum value, the slope or dy by dx, it is becoming negative from positive. So at maxima dy by dx is turning from positive to negative. That is, slope is turning positive to negative. Correct? Now at minima, what is happening? Reverse of that will happen. So you can see at minima the slope is, this angle is obtuse, so slope is negative, and as soon as you cross this minimum value, again the slope, it becomes, this angle becomes acute, so slope becomes positive. So at minima dy by dx or slope or m, this is changing from negative to positive, negative to positive. So that means at maxima, what should happen to d square y by dx square or d by dx of dy by dx? It should become negative. D square by dx square, it should be, that is again the rate of change of this dy by dx with respect to x, it is becoming negative. The rate of change of dy by dx with respect to x, here it is becoming positive. So here it should be less than 0. And for this d square y by dx square, it should be greater than 0. So this will be the condition for determining maxima and minima. So now we can take some example and we'll try to do or find out maximum and minimum value of that function. I hope it is very much clear to you till now that the first step is, I'll write the steps. First step is find dy by dx, then put dy by dx as equal to 0. So if you put dy by dx as equal to 0, you will get some equation in x, and that equation after solving you will get different points x1, x2, like this till xn, whatever the function is. So these are the different points, like this point is your, let us say x1, this point is your x2. So like this you will get different points, and these points are called as critical points. What are these points called as? We call them as critical points. So a function will attain its maximum or minimum value at these critical points. Now if you want to check that at which of these points the function is attaining its maximum or minimum value, then in the third step find d square y by dx square and substitute. Fourth step, put x1 in, let us say, d square y by dx square, and after putting, what you get is d square y by dx square. Suppose you are getting less than 0, that means fx y is equal to fx is having maxima at x1, is having maxima at x1. Correct? Also, now if I erase this and look for the other part, I am erasing this part here. Let us say if you are getting d square y by dx square as greater than 0, then y is equal to fx, and this is at x1, then y is equal to fx is having minima at x1, and logic I have already explained to you earlier why it is happening like that. So operational part, this is what you have to keep in mind while determining maxima and minima. Now let us take one simple function and try to determine its maximum and minimum value. So I'll erase this. So let us say the function that we are taking is y is equal to some x cube minus 3x square minus 9x plus 12, and we want to find out the maximum and minimum value of this function. So how do we find it out? So what is the first step? Find dy by dx. So what is dy by dx here? Differentiate it, you will get it as 3x square minus 6x minus 9. Differentiation of constant is 0. After that, second step, put dy by dx as equal to 0. Put it as equal to 0. So x square minus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. So we can write this as x square minus 3x plus x minus 3 is equal to 0. We are factorizing it, x minus 3 plus 1 into x minus 3, and that is equal to 0. So now x plus 1 into x minus 3, this is equal to 0. So what are the values of x? We get two values of x. One is x1 is equal to minus 1, and we can say x2 is equal to plus 3. And you can see these x1, x2 values are your critical points. These are your critical points. So the function is going to attain its maximum or minimum value at these critical points. So now let us try to see. So what is the fourth step? Third step. Find d square y by dx square. So what is d square y by dx square? Find it out. Again differentiate this. What will you get? 6x minus 6. You will get it as 6x minus 6. This we have differentiated this. Now we will check. So at x1, what is happening? D square y by dx square is 6. What is x1? Minus 1. So 6 into minus 1 minus 6. So it is minus of 12. So that means it is negative, and this is less than 0. Less than 0 means at x1, this function y is equal to fx is having maximum value. It is having maximum. Correct? Now we will check for another critical point. I am erasing this part. So now if you see it here, at x2, again find the value of d square y by dx square. How much you are getting? See, it is 6 into 3 minus 6. So it is 18 minus 6, which is 12, which is greater than 0. So that means at x2, y is equal to fx is having minimum value. It is having minimum value. So now what is the maximum value of this function? Y max. It is at x1, that is x is equal to minus 1. So we will put here minus 1. So we will get minus 1 cube minus 3 minus 1 square minus 9 minus 1 plus 12. So how much you will get? Minus 1. Minus 1 square is 1. 1 into minus 3 is minus 3 plus 9 plus 12. 4. 12 minus 4 is 8. 8 plus 9 is 17. So this is the maximum value of the function. What about the minimum value of the function? You are getting minimum value of the function at x2. That is at x is equal to 12. So put here 12. So 12, at x is equal to 3. Not 12. At x is equal to 3. So we will put it here 3 cube minus 3 into 3 square minus 9 into 3 plus 12. So this is the minimum value. So let us see if we are getting it. 27 minus 27 minus 27 plus 12. So this will be gone and you are getting minus 15. So the minimum value of this function is minus 15. So that is how you deal with maxima and minima, and that is how you find the maximum or minimum value of the function. Okay, so let's now try to do a few questions based on differentiation. Simple differentiation. So let us take first one. Let us say we have equation like 2a t square and y is equal to some at to the power of 4, and they are asking us to find out dy by dx. Then how do you do it? Now see, x is a function of t here, y is also a function of t. So here the functions are in parametric form. So we can write dy by dx as equal to dy by dt and dx by dt. So we can independently determine what is the value of dy by dt. How much it will be? d by dt of at to the power of 4. A is constant, take it outside. d by dt of t to the power of 4. So this can be written as a into 4 t cube. What about dx by dt? Dx by dt will be equal to differentiation of d by dt of 2a t square. So 2a will come outside, d by dt of t square. So differentiation of this will be 2t. So it will become 4at. So now your dy by dx, we can write it as equal to dy by dt by dx by dt. So it will be 4at cube by 4at. So 4a cancelled and it becomes equal to t square. Now let us try to differentiate another function, and we will take that function. Let us say we want to find out d by dx of a to the power of x. So now you see here the variable which has to be differentiated, it is in the power. So what should we do? We can do it like this. Let y is equal to a to the power of x. Now I have told you that whenever you find variables in power which has to be differentiated, you take natural log on both the sides. So take natural log on both the sides of the equation. So log to the base of e y, that is log to the base of e, a to the power of x. Now second step, differentiate it. So this can be written as x log e a. Correct? So now we can differentiate it. When you will differentiate, you can write on left hand side d by dx of log e y, that is equal to d by dx of x into log e a. So here we are having y, here we are having x. So what should we do? Chain rule, d by dy of log e y into dy by dx, and that can be written as, here this term is constant, so you can take it outside, log e a d by dx of x. So what is d by dy of log e y? It is 1 by y, so we can write 1 by y dy by dx, and that is d by dx of x is 1, so that is equal to log e a. So what is dy by dx then? We can write it as y into log e a. What is y? Y is a to the power of x, so we can just write it as a to the power of x into log to the base of e into a. So that's how you can differentiate that function. Let us see a couple of more questions. So I'll erase this. Let's say you have been given some function like sine of log x and you want to differentiate it. So what should you do? Now dy by dx, so this will be d by dx of sine of log x. So the problem here is, here we are having log x, here we are having x. So what should we do? Same thing should be brought here. So what I do is I bring log x here. Now you are having sine of log x. So if I have brought log x in the denominator, I have to bring it in the numerator also to keep the expression unchanged. So now we can rewrite everything like this. Now if log x is equal to z, then it is d by dz of sine of z. So that will be cos of z or cos of log x. So we can write this as cos of log x. And what is d by dx of log x? It is 1 by x. So what will be the answer? It will become cos of log x by x. So that's how you can differentiate this function. Let's take another function. So I'm just telling you how all these things can be done. Let's say you are having something like y is equal to cos of root x and you want to differentiate it. How will you do? So dy by dx, we can write it as d by dx of cos of root x. But the problem is here you are having root x, here you are having x. So what do? We make this change. In the denominator also we bring root x. And here it is cos root x. In the denominator you have brought root x. So you should bring similar term in the numerator also to keep the expression unchanged. So now the whole expression you can see how it has been written. What is this differentiation? This will become minus of sine of root x. And what is d by dx of x to the power of half? It is 1 by 2 root x. So the answer will become minus sine root x by 2 root x. And don't cancel this root x and root x here. I mean this root x is with sine. This is one term together. And this is a separate term. Similarly, let us say if we are having a function like y is equal to some log x by e to the power of x, and we need to differentiate it. How do we do? So you have to understand that this is u, this is v. So this is of the form u by v. And what is the differentiation? I'll write the formula. dy by dx is equal to v du by dx minus u dv by dx by v square. Correct? So now we'll make use of this formula. So you can write e to the power of x d by dx of log x minus u, which is log x, d by dx of v, which is e to the power of x, divided by e to the power of x, the square of this. What is differentiation of this? It will be 1 by x, so we can write it as e to the power of x by x minus d by dx of e to the power of x. The function does not change. It is e to the power of x only, so we can write e to the power of x into log x by e to the power of 2x. So that is how you can differentiate the function which is in division. If you want to take one more example where the function is in multiplication with each other, we can take that. So let us say we take a function y is equal to x cube into ln x, and we want to differentiate it. How do we do? Dy by dx this is one function, you can take it as u. This is another function, you can take it as v. So we can write u dv by dx plus p du by dx. The order does not matter in multiplication. So we can write x cube d by dx of natural log of x plus natural log of x d by dx of u, which is x cube. So now this we can write it as x cube d by dx of ln x is 1 by x, correct, plus d by dx of x cube is 3x squared into ln x. So here we can write it as x square plus 3x square ln x. So this way we can keep on doing the differentiation, and my suggestion is that wherever you get such kind of questions, you try to differentiate, at least try to do 500, 600 questions based on differentiation. You can very easily find it on Google. You just type differentiation MCQ questions, you will get a lot of questions. Practice it there. Then you are having a lot of standard books in mathematics where you can actually go and solve the question related with differentiation. More you practice, more you will understand, and you don't need to do the each and every step in the detailed way as I have done. Many of these steps can be done mentally also. No need to write so many things. It is just written for your clarity because you are learning it for the first time. So obviously you will be making a lot of mistakes also. No need to worry about those mistakes. Just keep on practicing and taking the help either from your teacher or from your seniors, or if you have any specific doubt you can ask it in the comment section on my YouTube channel. So that will also be helpful. I'll definitely get back to you. So guys, with this we have completed the basic part of calculus, and that is the first part, which is differentiation. Next part we are going to see in the next series of lecture, and that will be focused on integration. So here now we will stop with differentiation. Thank you everyone.